All right. Thank you all for joining us in this edition of Becoming Fierce in the Practice of Law, Personal Wellness. We have Professor Gina Singorelli here to guide us through this edition. And Professor Singorelli, take it away.
All right. Thank you so much for having me here today. It is an honor to be able to present this workshop. I am an attorney, I'm a social worker, and I'm a certified traditional naturopath. And I believe in personal wellness. And this is something I don't think is talked about enough in the legal field. And we are doing something about that now, which I'm very glad about. So here's the question. Is there an epidemic in the profession? And this quote really sums it up. It comes from an attorney who's also the director of the largest addiction treatment provider in the country. The legal profession combines long hours, high stress, isolation, a trained need to never show vulnerability, and work that by its very definition is antagonistic and conflict-laden, and that makes for a toxic environment conducive to addiction and mental health issues. Legal work combines all the elements that contribute to substance abuse and other disorders in one toxic pot. And I could not think of any better way to open this presentation to stress to you just how important personal wellness is. If we look at some of the current statistics, I've started with some 2016 statistics by the ABA and the same foundation that I just discussed with you. 28% of licensed and employed lawyers suffer with depression, 21% were problem drinkers, and 19% had symptoms of anxiety in this study. Now, some were predisposed and believed that the field had exacerbated the issues. In other words, if I have a predisposition to alcoholism, we know alcoholism has a genetic link, but I never pick up that first drink, then I'm not likely to become an alcoholic, obviously. So those with a predisposition, for example, to anxiety, enter a field such as the law that is extremely demanding, well, that gives the anxiety a rampant forum to run. Now, some 2020 statistics from ALM's Mental Health and Substance Abuse Survey. ALM owns several legal magazines. They're showing 31% of the lawyers surveyed felt depressed. 64% felt they had anxiety. That was a huge jump. 10% alcohol problem and 3% with a drug problem. I also think it's important to put out that in 2020, the ABA put out some information about suicide. Suicide is a leading cause of death in the United States. There are 94 suicides a day on average, which breaks down to one suicide every 15 minutes. There's a clear correlation between suicide, depression, and other mental health issues, including substance abuse. Often people who are suicidal don't really want to die. They just want to release from the intense psychological pain that they're experiencing. What does this mean for attorneys? Because attorneys experience higher levels of depression and substance abuse than the general population, they are at greater risk for suicide. Starting to hear and see a lot more about lawyers committing suicide. This shouldn't be new information to any of us. So how does our profession measure up to other professions as well as the general population? As compared to 25 other occupations, lawyers had 3.6 times the rate of clinical depression. 18% of lawyers will develop problems related to substance abuse as compared to 10 or 11% of the general population. 1 out of 5 practicing lawyers who self-report as problem drinkers. This is twice the national rate. So in terms of industries ranked from lowest to highest divorce rates, the legal field has a divorce rate of 35%. This is high, folks. Considering the highest divorce rate was 40.6%, and that was office and administrative support workers. The lowest divorce rate was architecture and engineering, 27.5%. 35% is high. I didn't include here numbers from COVID because they're not out yet, but the divorce rate has increased exponentially due to COVID. So it would be very interesting to look at these numbers as it pertains to the legal field once some time has passed and we have some statistics available to us. Why do we have so many problems? Why do lawyers have so many problems? Well, it's a difficult profession. Often the people that choose this profession have type A personalities. This is your perfectionist. We want to do it and we want to do it right. Sometimes there are predispositions, like we just talked about, predisposition to anxiety, for example. We know that anxiety can serve us well. It can motivate us. That is anxiety in moderation, obviously, not when it's out of control. There's also the issue of client demands versus our professional ethics. Everything is on the line for a lawyer's reputation. We have to maintain our oaths, our licenses. We have to try to keep our clients happy. It's always on the line, all of it. We often start out in this field with financial burdens, debt from law school. We are trying to reap a financial reward. I mean, that's just a normal part of it. And that reward can come with a price. Sleepless nights, our schedules are demanding, our workloads are heavy. We can't make more time. So when our workload grows, something has to give. And what is that? It's the work-life balance. First, it starts with vacations, then weekends, then evenings, then friends, and then sadly, family. This is what all the research shows to be true. Other problems, technology, while it's doing a lot of good for us, it's also created a lot of anxiety and depression because there's no escape. Clients, colleagues, opposing lawyers, everybody wants an immediate answer. There's absolutely no release from the constant pressure. Unless you're going to turn that phone off, turn that computer off, there's no release. But how feasible is it for a lawyer to do that? We can, however, set some limits. Workload pressure. Is this more than we bargained for? We're handling a person's fate. When someone's fate is in our hands, we tend to take on those clients' problems. That means we internalize them and we worry about them. We worry about our skill set and our ability to handle this because whatever the outcome is, it's going to affect someone's life. Lawyers are always under attack. The setting itself is adversarial. Any mistakes we make are pointed out and it's used for competitive advantagement. This causes people to be hypervigilant. That means you're always on edge, looking over your shoulder in a permanent fight or flight mode. One lawyer put it best. He's a retired family lawyer and he's a wellness consultant now in Oregon, James Gray Robinson. And he said, lawyers wear a bullseye on their back. Many lawyers start their legal careers with crushing debt, no clients, and uncertainty about the future. Law students face insurmountable odds and can be depressed before they step foot out of law school. Also, lawyers have to have an elephant's hide, the courage of a martyr, and the patience of a saint. We are not trained for this. I really like that quote because it almost sounds like the expectation is one of a superhuman. And well, I don't think any of us are superheroes. At least I know I'm not. Well, what are the results of so much stress? As you can see, we tend to run on empty. Emotional and physical exhaustion, burnout, chronic stress can cause serious health problems. Chronic stress can disrupt every single system in the body. It can suppress the immune system, upset the digestive and the reproductive systems. It can increase the risk of a heart attack or a stroke. It increases inflammation in the body, which is the precursor to the heart disease. It also speeds up the aging process. It can cause emotional problems, as we've seen, like depression and anxiety. It can negatively impact personal relationships. Many of us know that that starts in law school. Friends that we had start dropping off. They don't understand the demands that were required of us in law school. It's the same thing when we're practicing. It can affect our relationships with all our family and friends. Social issues, we don't get to go and do a lot of the things that we used to enjoy, meaning less relaxation, and also issues on the job. You know, we spend more time at work than we do anywhere else, and naturally, personalities will conflict at times. That's just to be expected. What about secondary trauma? This is from the absorption of other people's stress. This goes back to that piece about hypervigilant that I discussed. I read a comment about a former Marine who is now a practicing litigation attorney, and he compared the pressure and stress and mental toll of practicing law to his actual combat experience. That tells me this is pretty serious stuff. So when is it enough? Well, stress affects how you think, how you feel, and how you behave. It affects your ability to complete your routine activities of daily living, your relationships, your spouse, kids, immediate family, extended family, friends, missed events. People don't understand. They get angry. They get upset. Your work product can suffer when you're under too much stress. You have too many irons in the fire. It's hard to become really good at something when you're doing a whole bunch of things at one time. How you cope. When you're stressed, you don't tend to cope the best or make the best decisions. Another quote I read, a lawyer said, it's easy to turn to alcohol. Alcohol is legal. Well, we saw the numbers for problem drinking in the law profession, and they're high. Recent studies are showing that gambling is on the rise in the law profession. Well, gambling is also legal too. What about self-esteem? Self-esteem is a major source of anxiety, because a lawyer will tend to compare his own level of skill to the positive or negative impact in a person's life. In other words, we take it personal. We win or we lose. We think about it. It's a hard thing for us to let go. We question, am I good enough? Did I do my best? If only if I would have had more time. So we create these negative scripts in our head that serve only to harm us and not to help us. And then, of course, your body breaks down. How often are you getting sick? How long are you taking to recover from those acute illnesses? What about your sleep at night? Has it been forever disrupted since law school? I hear that oftentimes, yes. So common effects of stress on your body: headaches, muscle tension, that can be anywhere, your shoulders, your back, your hips. I mean, we're constantly at that computer, we're typing, we're in this scrunched up position. This is more so because of COVID and the restrictions that we live with. For example, we're doing our CLEs by Zoom now. This may have been a workshop that would have been facilitated in person otherwise. Chest pain, a very common symptom of anxiety. fatigue, or any change in sleep. Some people sleep too much, some people sleep not enough. A change in a sex drive, digestive changes, nausea, upset stomach, difficulties going to the bathroom, all of that good stuff. The effects of stress on your mood, anxiety, restlessness, decreased motivation, huge symptom of burnout, difficulty concentrating, even on the smallest tasks or things such as, that you might have once enjoyed. It might feel good to go garden or to even clean your house, to see the results of what you're doing quickly, but yet now you find that you can't concentrate on even that. Feeling overwhelmed, irritable, or anger when that's not normal for you. And then a sense of sadness or depression that has sort of crept in and stayed for a while. The effects of stress on your behavior, overeating, undereating, weight gain, weight loss, angry outbursts. This is when you can't hold that anger inside anymore and it just spews out. You lash out at someone or something. Drug or alcohol misuse, tobacco use. Maybe you were never a smoker and now all of a sudden you're a chain smoker. Social withdrawal. This profession is already isolating. We have to spend a lot of time on our own, researching in the books, preparing. So the little time that we do have to socialize, you definitely can tell something is off and needs to change when you begin to withdraw socially. You have the time to do something, now you don't want to. You just want to stay in bed and binge on Netflix. You're just too exhausted to get out of that bed, put on your happy face and go out and face your family and friends. That's a significant change in behavior. And also exercising less often. I mean, typically that's one of the first things to go. Lots of people have a nice, healthy exercise routine and it starts dwindling. I know mine started to dwindle in law school and now it's non-existent. And I need to get back into that because it's a great way to release stress and reduce tension. So now you know the effects of stress on your mood, on your body, and your behavior. What do? You have to change how you respond to the stress. It's not always possible to avoid stress, but at times you can minimize it. When you can minimize it, you should. You should also learn positive coping skills. So rather than picking up that bottle of alcohol or going down to the casino, learn other things you can do to unwind that don't have negative effects. Also, planning for major life changes, realizing your limitations. We're not machines, we're people. And people need rest and people need relaxation. And sometimes it's okay to say, no, my plate's full right now. Can't do this now, but I might be able to do that in the future. Prioritize always. We do that naturally based on our deadlines. Spend time with your friends and your family. Carve out that time and protect it. Laugh. Laughter reduces stress. Improve your communication. In other words, instead of acting out and lashing out, tell people, I'm upset right now, I'm stressed, I'm working a lot, I'm not coping my best. Cultivate a positive attitude. We know the effects of negativity. If you've ever been around anyone who is constantly complaining or negative, oftentimes you find you don't want to be around them. It just doesn't feel good. So you want to try to have as positive of an attitude as you can. Reward yourself with time and things that you enjoy. Take breaks between projects during the day, on the weekends. Eat healthy. Get enough sleep. We all need to work on that. Move that body. Our bodies are not meant to be stagnant. We're not meant to be sitting here all the time. We were made to move and seek help when needed. It's a common fact that lawyers are often afraid to seek help because of regulatory boards and fears associated with that. However, it is becoming more common, and I think we need to do more education about it. So how do we change our responses to stress? We have to engage in self-care. What is self-care? Self-care is any activity that we do deliberately to care for our mental, emotional, and physical health. It refuels us. It doesn't take away. It builds, it regenerates. And it's an activity or a series of activities that we set aside at certain points during the day. Self-care is not something that we have to force ourselves to do. It's not something we don't enjoy. And it doesn't mean that we do things we don't want to do at certain time. For instance, checking your email at 11 at night, or checking your phone the second you open your eyes and your vision is still blurry and you can't even see straight. It's not letting others infringe upon your boundaries. In other words, we need to learn to say no sometimes. We're not machines. We have to understand that. Because if you can't be good to yourself, how are you going to be good to anyone else or for anyone else? First things first, identify your priorities. These are your personal priorities. What are your values? What are your morals? Once you've done that, you're going to want to set some goals, short-term goals and long-term goals. And then you're going to have steps in between to work towards those goals. And when you're setting those priorities, make yourself a priority. You know, you're not just somebody's daughter, somebody's son, somebody's partner, somebody's mother, somebody's father, somebody's sibling, somebody's employee, somebody's lawyer, somebody's professor. You are you, and you matter. Therefore, make yourself a priority. Set boundaries. We have a hard time doing this, but it's extremely important. Once you've identified the things that matter to you, create a firm barrier around the time that you've allotted for them. Sometimes it's not the quantity of the time that matters, it's the quality of the time that you have. So make the most of what you have. Treat it as a deadline or a court hearing that you cannot miss. And understand that you are responsible for your health and well-being, no one else. Therefore, you are in charge of your choices. So basically, the buck stops here. We can't play the blame game all the time. How do we self-care? Self-care doesn't have to be this long, drawn-out thing. I've already touched on the basics. I'm a firm believer in just getting back to the basics. Hydrating, drinking enough water. Our bodies are primarily fluid. Eat right, sleep enough, move your body, and rest. And resting can sometimes be just doing something that's relaxing, walking outside for a few minutes, seeing the sunshine. I can remember when I was in pre-law, I heard one of my fellow colleagues say she didn't see the light of day that whole summer. And I never forgot that. So I ask you, as practicing lawyers, how many of you get to see the light of day? And is it enough? We have to actively plan for self-care. The good news is if you haven't been practicing self-care, it only takes 3 weeks to form a new habit. That's it, 3 weeks. That is not a lot of time in the grand scheme of things. So how do we self-care? In addition to those things, this little chart identifies lots of ways to self-care. Find a hobby, play an instrument, learn a new language, try new things. Make it a point to actively try new things. Maybe you don't sing well, maybe you like to sing. Get a karaoke machine, sing at home. Look for new opportunities. One of the things I read that has become extremely popular during COVID is sewing. Sewing machines sold out very, very quickly during the pandemic. But studies show that when you use your mind and your hands at the same time, that it creates a sense of peace. It deactivates the sympathetic nervous system, which is what is activated and causes us to stay hypervigilant or in fight or flight. And it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which fosters peace and calming. So having to focus and use your hands at the same time, the repetitive movement coupled with the keen focus actually calms us down. So things like arts and crafts, embroidery, sewing, anytime you can make something tangible and concrete, it's going to have an extremely positive effect on your well-being. Start a collection, take a cooking class. I have some friends that are taking cooking classes now by Zoom. Do something physical, swim, go hiking, boating. I've always wanted to take a pottery class and just get my hands dirty. I've never been able to do that. Container gardens are becoming more popular. Card games, lots and lots of things. This is a good time to just really think outside of the box and do things that you may never have done before. One of the best ways to obtain peace and to calm your mind is through mindfulness. There is a lot of scientific evidence that proves mindfulness activates the parasympathetic nervous system and decreases that sense of hypervigilance. So it calms you. In yoga, they call the mind the monkey mind, and it teaches you how to control your mind. And once you gain that self-discipline, then you also have more control over your body, i.e. things you eat, things you do. So what are some ways to explore mindfulness? Limit the news, limit social media. Sometimes these things are some of the most harmful things to our personal sense of well-being, and it can keep people upset, angry, frustrated. Sometimes you just need to, as my son, he's a junior in college, he says, I'm going to unplug. But fortunately, he'll be thoughtful and he'll text me and he'll say, I'm going to unplug for the weekend. You're not going to be able to reach me, but I'll let you know when I'm back online, so that I know he's okay, but he's taking time for himself. There's meditation. I'm going to do a guided meditation before we wrap up today, a short one, just to kind of foster a sense of relaxation at the end of our workshop. There's other things like yoga, Tai Chi that are mindfulness-based exercises. Body scan is another form of meditation. There's some really great articles out there about it. It is excellent for stress, anxiety, and pain reduction. It's something that you can do on your own, at home, by yourself. I mean, you can also, I saw a $5 Groupon the other day for a yoga subscription, $5 per month. So you can even do yoga at home on your own and have access to many, many yoga classes for $5 a month. Just enjoy some quiet time. It's okay to be by yourself, and it's okay to not talk, and it's okay to be with friends and family and just have a quiet peace at times too. So learn to enjoy that and be okay with it. Understand that it's not selfish to be kind to yourself. We have to do what's right for ourselves. If we don't, we're going to become run down. We're going to become exhausted, and all those other things we talked about in the beginning of the workshop are going to happen. Not going to be any good to ourselves. We're not going to be good to anyone else, clients, family, friend, no one. So realizing that you're a priority, loving yourself, taking care of yourself, being kind to yourself matters. And finally, to avoid drama. I always ask myself when I'm thinking about people and things, is this part of the problem or part of the solution? And if someone or something is part of the problem, then that may mean that I need to distance myself for a while. And that may be from people, things, or activities. Negativity affects you mentally, emotionally, physically. It saddens the soul. It brings the spirit down. You really, really want to try to minimize that drama, especially during busy seasons. And I know, like, for those at the university now, it's a very busy season. We're going into finals. And of course, it's a busy season in our world right now amidst the election. And 2020 has been a busy season with COVID, and COVID is nowhere near gone. So this stuff is more important than ever. So figure out your problems, figure out whether something is a problem or a solution, and act accordingly. Other ways that you can reduce stress, we can actually use technology to our benefit. There are apps for meditation and sleep. I've listed a few of them that I've heard good things about: Aura, Calm, sleep hypnosis, and guided meditation. Sleep hypnosis and guided meditation is also available on YouTube. We can use technology for tasks and scheduling, productivity purposes. There's OneNote, there's email calendars, there's some other apps like Todoist, Rescue Time, Remember the Milk. These are just a few of them. There are automated technology now to assist with administrative tasks, particularly important for those who are running their own practices and basically doing most everything on your own. The ABA has a legal technology buyer's guide that actually suggests helpful technology. There's case text now for legal research. They're promoting less time and effort to do legal research. And then there's other things like Biller Assist, Allocate Legal, Effortless Intake, and Smokeball. These are supposed to reduce the time spent on billing and other administrative tasks. And I'm sure there's more out there. These are just the ones that I researched. What is the benefit of taking care of yourself? An enhanced mental, emotional, and physical state, more productivity, a higher self-esteem, healthier relationships, personal fulfillment, career success, and our ultimate goal, to live a balanced life. Do we live to work, or do we work to live? I'll leave you to think about that one a while. And of course, we should encourage people to seek help whenever necessary. Emotional health should be a normal part of our conversations. We can educate others about the benefits of counseling and share resources like online therapy. Some of the good ones are BetterHelp, Regain, Talkspace. Private therapists, you can pay out of pocket if you're worried about insurance and EAP and such. Psychologytoday.com is an excellent way to search for therapists who are available in your area and also see their expertise, their fees, whether or not they take insurance. Most have pictures and websites. If you have health insurance, you may have providers available to you through your health insurance for a small copay or percentage. You may have EAP benefits through your employer. There's also lawyer assistance programs. There's Alcoholics Anonymous, and there's NAMI, which is the National Association for the Mentally Ill. So there's lots of resources available. That's just a very, very few that I've listed. But you want to give clear and accurate information. Counseling services are confidential. The only way that they're not is if one is suicidal or homicidal or in the event of a court order. It's important to encourage and to support people, but to also respect that therapy is a personal choice. I've included a couple of pages in your works cited, resources that I used to put the workshop together, as well as some articles that you may just want to read on your own. And I've listed my contact information. I know that I went through a lot of information very quickly, but I was asked to try to make some time for us to do a guided meditation, and we do have time to do that. But if anyone has any questions about anything that I covered, I'll try my best to answer that right now. Ms. Dickerson, do we have anything in the chat box? If not, I can move into the guided meditation. Okay, well, I don't see any. Let's see.
Does anyone have any questions?
I don't see any questions. I know it was a lot of information. I know that most of it's not new to you as well. Okay, well, I guess we'll go into the guided meditation. It's about 10 minutes, and then we'll wrap up after that. Is that all right, Ms. Dickerson?
Sounds wonderful to me.
Okay, good deal. All right, so would like everyone just to relax for a minute and shift gears. We have just talked about a lot of stress, the effects of stress on our minds, our bodies, and our behavior. We've talked about how prominent stress is in the legal field. And I would like to end this workshop with some relaxation. This is a forest waterfall meditation, and I hope that you will enjoy it. Get as comfortable as you can in your chair. Let your hands rest loosely in your lap. Close your eyes and take a deep breath in. Hold it for a moment. And then let it go completely. Take another deep breath. And as you do, imagine you are breathing in pure love. As you exhale, you are sending out forgiveness. Breathe in pure love and exhale forgiveness. Take a third deep breath and hold it in for a moment. As you exhale completely, feel all of the worries of the day being released and a sense of relaxation beginning to fill every part of your body. Breathe out your worries of the day and feel the sensation of relaxation fill your body. It enters at the top of your head and it spreads down over your face, your neck, and your shoulders. This relaxing feeling now expands along your back, down your legs, and throughout your feet. It is as if relaxation is a constant flow of soothing energy entering from your head and passing out through your toes. Continue to breathe softly as we go on a journey in our minds. Picture the view from the front porch of a log cabin deep in the woods at the base of a lush green mountain. You are on vacation, and for this trip, you are leaving all of your worldly cares and concerns behind you. The smell of the pine trees in the warm morning sun is pleasant as you sit in your comfortable chair, enjoying the peace and serenity that surrounds you. Fog gently rolls off the mountainside as the sun evaporates the morning dew. Birds are singing and their song seems to call you into the forest. You rise slowly from your chair and walk down the 3 steps that lead to the ground below. There is a path near the cabin that leads into a dense part of the forest. The trees are so thick that you can't see very far down the path. As you enter the path, a cool, moist breeze gently caresses your face, bringing with it a sweet smelling fragrance. The path meanders along through the woods, curving around giant old trees with flowering vines stringing through them and forming a beautiful canopy above you that stretches in every direction. A rabbit lazily hops by you with 8 little ones following closely behind her. They stop and turn toward you as if they have no fear of you. Then they turn to continue on their journey, and they disappear behind some small shrubs. You walk further through the woods, and in the distance, you can hear the sound of rushing water. You leave the path and walk in the direction of the water. As you near the water, the canopy of the forest opens up to reveal a soft blue sky. There's not a cloud in sight. In this opening, a creek cascades off the edge of a cliff and gently falls into a clear pool surrounded by the rocks. On the other side of the pond, you see some deer drinking the cool, fresh water as dragonflies flutter across the surface of the rippling pool. The water flows away into the forest, nourishing all that live within it. There is an opening in the cliff behind the waterfalls. The morning sun is feeling very warm, so you decide to find relief in the cool shelter of the rock. Behind the water, the air is very cool and moist. It soothes your skin from the heat of the sun. Looking through the water, you can see all the colors of the rainbow performing an elegant dance as the sun's light reflects off the water. Even the trees and rocks on the other side seem to be melting into various shapes and colors as the water glides through the air. You reach out your hand to touch the water and find it to be a pleasant temperature. Without thinking, you take a few steps toward, and you stand inside the water as it falls around you to the earth. You take a drink of the water, and it tastes clean and pure, refreshing after you walk through the forest. As you look out at the pond from the waterfalls, you notice frogs jumping into the water and turtles basking in the sun on some of the rocks. Their shells shine in the bright sun. Being in the presence of such majesty fills your heart with joy and gratitude. You are overcome by feelings of peace and serenity. Continue to look around you at the glorious view, enjoying every moment. An eagle soars above you, effortlessly floating in the breeze. As you step out of the water and back into the warm sun, you notice a flower-covered bush with colorful butterflies surrounding it. This truly is a magnificent place. But it is time to head back to the cabin. So you walk back in the direction of the path, back into the cool forest. Squirrels are leaping through the trees in a playful game. Walking further, you can see the entrance to the forest next to the cabin. You leave the woods and slowly walk up the steps to the porch, sitting once more where you began the day, in your comfortable chair. But now you have a feeling of peace and joy. Remember that you can return to a place of peace anytime you want by simply closing your eyes and saying to yourself, I can choose peace rather than this. Take one last deep breath. And as you exhale, begin to wiggle your toes and your fingers. And when you are ready, open your eyes. I hope that if you felt some stress at the beginning of the workshop, that you don't now. And my hope is that we will all move forward and take better care of ourselves and recognize and value personal wellness so that we can be the absolute best we can be, not just the best lawyers we can be, but the best people that we can be. I want to thank you for inviting me to participate in this program, Ms. Dickerson. It has been my pleasure and the highlight of my day to present this workshop. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them or feel free to contact me.